Here, Sally, these people are looking for the Clunties.
The Clunties? What are they looking at the Clunties for?
Come and talk to them, will you? I know nothing about it.
Hello. Do you know where the distillery is at the top of the town? Well, if you go past it and stay on the Castlecatt Road, that'll take you right through the Clunties. Now, you'll not see a sign for it, so you needn't bother looking. It's a townland between Billy and Ballylough.
Is that where it is? My granny was from out that direction near the Drum Lodge.
Then she came from the Clunties. They might be interested in seeing that.
Oh, might. Go you on out the Castlecatt Road, and about a mile out you'll see the Riverside Road on your right. Turn down there and the lodge is on the left, about less than a mile down, I'd say, on the edge of the Trail estate. You can rent it now.
Can you?
Oh yes. I'd love to get a wee look inside.
But sure, it'll all be changed.
Oh, it will. But it's protected, you know. What do you call it? Conserved by the Irish Landmark Trust. It's the only circular lodge in the whole of Ulster.
Is that right?
It is. It's famous. And I think my granny's goats roamed all around and through it. We used to get scolded for teasing them.
How do you tease a goat?
There's several ways. One of them butted me once. I stopped teasing them after that. They used to go through the Trail estate to get to Ballylough School.
The goats?
My granny.
Did the colonel let them?
No, but they did it anyway. It was a great shortcut, she said. They came up that back drive from Riverside Road, and when they got up near Ballylough House, they hunkered away down and snuck up through the ha-ha so they couldn't be seen from the windows. And then they went down the low yard past the cornsticks and onto the pad across the fields and out through the kissing gate. And it took them out at the cottages over there at Castlecatt Road.
The kissing gate? Oh boys, that could tell a tale.
I'd say it could. She had a twinkle in her eye, my granny. And if she got the chance, they'd nick a ween of apples on the way. But not if the colonel was about. If he'd got a howl of them, he'd have ducked them in St. Colum's Rill. Sure, they'd nothing in those days. The most of them went to school in their bare feet.
Aye, and carrying a peat with them for the schoolhouse stove.
That's right. I remember my father telling me there was a girl went to school with him and she had nothing. And she used to stop and pull a stick out of the hedge to bring in with her to burn. But there was a woman that lived in the Drum Lodge at the time. I forget her name now. And she would have sodas ready for them when they were coming home. And she'd have handed a farl to them when they were passing, hot off the griddle with the butter melting down through their fingers. And it was like a manna from heaven, he said.
Oh, a Ballylough School. Oh, no, that's at the very end of Haw Road. Let me see now. If you go out the Castlecatt Road, turn right into Riverside Road and keep going till the end and you'll come to Seneril Road. Turn left there, then left again at the end, and that takes you back up into Castlecatt. Then you'll see a road up on your right hand side called Haw Road, and as you turn in there you'll see a big black stone building on your right, and that was Ballylough School. It's a private house now, but you can still see the plaque in the front of it. You'll know it when you see it.
It's just over from the basket house.
The basket house?
Aye, the women all used to weave baskets in it. It was sort of a home industry during the war. I heard my father saying they'd have cut the bulrushes there at the wee loch off the Seneril Road, what they used to call the Moss Road near the Winds. And the women would have woven them into baskets and lined them with potato sacks. It's that wee low white house there after the school and the yellow house and the gallery. The garden goes down onto the Castlecatt Road.
I'd never heard tell of that before.
Oh, aye. My father was full of stories of the Moss Road. My grandfather told him they used to pinch eggs and bring them into the shop there at the Seneril post office and trade them in for a plug of tobacco. He was chewing tobacco from the age of 12.
12?
Oh, aye. I remember him in his older days. He was a very accurate spitter, my grandfather.
Indeed. Now, if you turn into Haw Road, there at Ballylough School, that'll take you up past the Folly and Billy Church and onto the Straid Road, just below the barn door, and you can come back into the town again that way. The barn door, well, that's the name we give to that big bend in the road there as you're coming into Bushmills from Ballycastle direction. Don't know how I got that. Now, the Folly's worth a look, isn't it, Joan? You'll see it on your left-hand side as you come away from Ballylough School towards Billy. It's a monument of a sort. They say it was built by the Trail family during the famine to give the people work. There's a weather vane on the top of it.
Billy Church is an interesting place too. You should stop there. They say it's been a site of worship for more than 1500 years. There's a holy well there.
Bally's an odd sort of a name for a place, isn't it?
I heard my father saying it was from an old Gaelic word meaning a sacred tree or grove.
Oh, is that right?
It is. That's the churchyard Robert Quigg's buried in.
I thought you said you knew nothing.
Oh, that's funny what you remember when you start. My uncle often told the story of him. He was awarded the Victoria Cross in the First World War. His platoon officer was Harry McNaughton.
Oh, of Dunderav.
The very same. Lieutenant McNaughton went missing and Rifleman Quigg went out into no man's land 7 times to look for him. And every time he came back with a wounded soldier.
Oh, did he find the lieutenant?
He never did, but he saved 7 men in the process. My Uncle Jimmy used to work in the churchyard at Billy. He knew all the graves. He used to say he was over hundreds of men. There was this day he was waiting for a delivery of cinders for the paths, and they used to use the cinders from the distillery, to keep the weeds down. And he was anxious for them to arrive because he had another appointment that day. And then this man arrived and spoke to him and said, "I've come to scatter the ashes." And my uncle said, "Just throw them round the path there and I'll tramp them in." And the man looked at him like he was away in the head. And then my uncle saw what he was holding in his hand, and what was it? Only an urn. And it was only then he realised that this was his appointment for later that day. The man had come to scatter the ashes of his father.
Oh, Joan, is that true?
That's what he said to me.
Oh, that's a good one. Up behind Billy Church on the Cabra Road, isn't there some sort of an earthworks, like an old fort of a kind?
There's a Motte and Bailey.
A what?
A Motte and Bailey. It's the remains of what was a keep at one time, centuries ago. You can see the mound with the trees all around it where there would have been a palisade. It's just there on the right-hand side behind the rectory as you go out the Cabra Road.
Is that the place they found all the silver coins at one time?
It could be.
There's an awful lot of archaeology about, isn't there?
Oh, there is. The whole country's crisscrossed with souterrains.
Souterrains?
Tunnels. They say at one time you could have gone from McQuillan's Castle at Ballylough the whole way over to Dunluce Castle via the tunnels. There was one out our way, I remember, over by Bennett's Brae on the Carnbore Road. A combine harvester fell into it. That's how they found it. I went to look at it one time. There was sort of a stone-built entrance. I had to bend way down. I wouldn't do it now. The floor was all packed with earth, and they found things in them, wooden dishes, bones as well, I heard. It'd make you shiver to think of it. It's Ballybogie in the Clunties.
Aye, Ballybogie, Carncoggie, Deepstown and Dervick. Spell that without a K.
You need a K for Dervick.
Aye, but not for that.
That's an old one. I should have seen that coming.
No.
No what?
Ballybogie's not in the Clunties.
Oh, where'd those people go?
I don't know. They've disappeared.
Sure, what were they looking for the Clunties for anyway?
Ach, sure you know what people are like when they're in their holidays trying to put in their time. They travel miles to look at a rock and a field.
True enough. Cup of tea, Sally?
I wouldn't say no, Joan.